So now in this class, we can see like a kickstart installation of the PXE boot server. So what is kickstart installation of the PXE boot server and why do you require? So let us example, I got some 10 machines are there. So these are the bare metal machines. So the meaning of the bare metal means just we have only the hardware is there and without any operating system. So we have the processor, RAM and hard disk. So but without any operating system and that we can call it as a bare metal machines. So we got 10 machines are there. Now in the 10 machines and I want to deploy the operating system called as Linux operating system. Linux or maybe the CentOS operating system. So now in the 10 machines, if you want to install the CentOS OS means manually you need to go for the each and every machine and you need to connect the pen drive or maybe you need to connect the DVD drive and you need to install the operating system. So you need to connect the DVD drive and you need to install the operating system manual way. So to install the manual way is very complicated. So that is the point of view. What I can do is I'll prepare one server now. So this is what you call as a kickstart server. Kickstart server. So with help of this kickstart installation or the kickstart server, and I can able to deploy the operating system on the remote computers. I can deploy the operating systems on the remote computers. And now you want to set up like a kickstart server, what the basic things are required for the server side and what the things are required in the client side. So we have something called a kickstart or we can also call it a PXE boot server, pre-boot execution environment. So now how the PXE boot server is there. So we tell for the PXE boot server, I want to deploy the operating system on a bare metal computer. That means just we have the only hardware is there, but there is no operating system. So how it is going to work with the kickstart installations? See, if you want to set up like a kickstart server, first of all install the one machine, the CentOS 6.7 or maybe the Red Hat Linux 7 also. So the next one, I installed the one server called as a TFTP server. So the TFTP server contains the boot images. So with help of this boot images, the boot image is going to transfer to the your client machine, the bare metal machine. And a bare metal machine, we have the NIC is there, network interface card. The network interface card, we have some separate boot ROM is there, and this boot ROM is called as the PXE boot ROM. So the PXE boot ROM is simply contains some of the bootable files to start the system. So when starting a bare metal system, what is going to happening is, so first thing is going to start with the network booting. When starting the network booting, we tell for some of the bootable files, and this client machine is going to request to the DHCP server, and the DHCP server what will do is going to supply the IP address to the your client machine. Now your PXE boot server and the bare metal machine both are in the network. The next step, this TFTP server is going to supply the a base images for starting of the system. The boot image is going to supply it. So we tell for the boot images, the system is going to start the system, booting the system. So once it's booting, the FTP server contains the entire operating system files and the ARM repository. Now this is going to supply the entire operating system and the packages what it require is going to deploy in the remote missions. Now how to set up this PXE boot server? So I have given everything step by step here. So the steps for preparing the Kickstart installation of the PXE boot server. The step 1, you need to install the CentOS 6.7 or the CentOS 7 or the Red Hat Linux 7. And the step 2, you need to install these packages for FTP server vs FTPD and the DHCP services you need to install. And to set up the TFTP server, we need to have the Xinet TD and the TFTP. And to get the image files, we require something called as SysLinux. So the first of all, you need to install these packages. So the step 1, you can say already I have the CentOS installed. So I'll go for the system now. So I have the CentOS is already installed here. So this is x86 64-bit and the CentOS or RHEL 6, EL6 means Enterprise Linux 6. So the step 1, what you need to do means you need to install operating system, already installed the OS, and the step 2, you need to install the VSFTPD, DHCP, Xinet TD and TFTP server and SysLinux. So first of all, I'm going to install these packages. So before configuring the host name and IP address, you can install the required packages, because the reason, so it is already connected to the internet. Maybe you can check it out, and 8.8.8.8. So it is already connected to the internet from the online. So the AM is going to work and it is going to download all the packages from the online. So if you configure like some different IP address, a static IP address, so it won't connect to like the repositories which are already available. So AM install VSFTPD. Says, so downloading the key also. So the VSFTPD package is going to install now. So after installation of the VSFTPD package, you need to install the DHCP, Xinet TD and SysLinux also. So at a time you can able to install all the packages. AM install DHCP and your TFTP hyphen server and space Xinet D and next space SysLinux and press enter. Okay, now it install the DHCP, SysLinux, TFTP server and Xinet TD, which include dependencies also. Press yes. So now all the packages are installed. So the step 2 is over. Now we'll go for some other steps. Now step 3. So now the step 3, you need to configure some static IP address here. So configure static IP address and the host name also. So I'm planning to configure IP address as 192.168.200.1 and the host name as myserver.mydomain.local. So I'll go for step 3 now. So right now we can say ifconfig. So we have the different IP address is there. So 192.168.17.135 and this IP address is dynamic IP actually. You want to configure like a static IP address, there we can find out a network card is there. So right click on this network connections, go to edit connections and the system ETS0 is there. IPv address 4 and you'll go for manual way, add 192.168.200.1 and subnet mask value is a 255.255.255.0. So click on apply, close. So just click on the left click and just will go for like a disconnect it once. Again click on the left click, just you can say system ETS0. Now we can check for ifconfig. We have the IP address right now at the 192.168.200.1. Now say clear. The next step we need to configure the host name. Right now the host name you can say localhost.local domain is there. So you want to configure the host name va/etc sysconfig. Under sysconfig you can say network is one file is there. And the network file you can say by default the host name is a localhost.local domain is there. You can change it as go to insert mode. Equal to myserver.mydomain.local. So press escape and save and exit now. And after this one you need to go for one more file name under etc host file. And you need to type the IP address of the server 192.168.200.1, press tab key and myserver.mydomain.local and press tab key. You can type the short name in the my server and now save and exit now. So the step 3 we configure the host name and we configure the IP address also. And the next step the step 4 you need to disable the firewall and SC Linux. So how to disable the firewall and SC Linux, we'll explain here. So service IP tables, the status you can say check it out, they are running right now. So service IP tables you can say stop And one more thing, what is going to happening means, again if you reboot the system, again the firewalls is going to on. You need to permanently, you want to disable means, you go for check config IP tables off. So this command what will do, next time when you say reboot the system, the server like IP tables, nothing but a firewall is going to disable. The next step what you can do is you need to disable the SC Linux. To disable the SC Linux, we'll go for vi/etc and the sysconfig and we'll go for SC Linux. See, by default you can say SC Linux is enforcing is there. So just you can make it as a enforcing, change it as a disable. Now save this one. Now you need to reboot the server now. So whenever you can change any settings in the SC Linux, you need to reboot the server. So I'm going to reboot the server now. Now the server is rebooted. You got the name, you can say my server.mydomain.local and now login is the root user account and the root password. So we have seen up to the step 4 and the step 5 you need to configure DHCP server. So why do you require the DHCP server now? Because the client machine is a bare metal machine, so it requires the IP address to connect to the server. So the DHCP server is going to supply the IP address to the client machines, the bare metal machines. So how to configure DHCP server? Given this, some of the steps are there. So before this one, you can say ping space my server. So working fine. So to configure DHCP server, so DHCP server already installed actually here. So the DHCP server configuration file under etc directory, DHCP directory is there. So dhcpd.conf is the configuration file. So DHCP server configuration file. So anyhow, the comment is there. Maybe if you require, you can delete it also. So these are DHCP configuration file. The DHCP configuration file, you need to add this one, authoritative and allow the booting and allow the boot TP. The pin nothing but a when it connecting from the PXE boot or network booting. So this has to get the IP address and default lease time 600 seconds, max lease time, and next one you can say subnet. So what is our network is there? 192.168.200.1 is our server IP address. So 200.0 is nothing but our network. And subnet mask value. And next one the range. I'm giving the range, you can say starting from the 200.20 to 200.30 and which is our PXE boot server and what the file name for booting. So just what I am doing is I am selecting this file, no need to type it again. So in this place just you can paste it here. Now save this file and exit. So the step 4, we next we configure like a DHCP server. The step 5 and the step 6. So copy all the directories and files from the Linux DVD2 to the var ftp pub directory to create like a ARM repository, because these files are required to install the OS. In the documentation I given the commands also. Maybe on your desktop if you don't have the DVD icon, so this meaning you can see is not connected to your ISO file. So right click on the virtual machine and go to settings. So CD or DVD connected and connected to power on, and use the ISO image file. So wherever this ISO image file is there for CentOS 6.7, you need to select it. So here my ISO file is there for the CentOS 6.7. Open and OK. Now we can see we got the ISO file is mounted. We got icon on desktop. The next step. So now we got a DVD icon is there. The next step, you need to copy the files from the your Linux DVD2 to the var ftp directory. And to mount a DVD here, I given the one command, mount -loop /dev cd-rom, and this is equal to mnt directory. So just will go for this, type this command, mount -loop /dev cd-rom. So cd-rom drive is equal to now which directory, now mnt directory. This is mounted. Is write protected, read only, because this is a DVD. The next step you need to go for mnt directory, and the next step, so change the mode for FTP directory. I want to make it as a full control for all users and group and others also. So ch mode 777 for var FTP pub directory. The next step, I am going to copy all the files which include directories also. -r is going to display the directories. -v is going to display the verbose, that means the output. So cp-rvf and star symbol means everything. I'm going to paste it here, press enter. So it takes some time now. So still is copying the files. So the almost is going to complete the files. So the files copied now. The next step. So we complete the step 6 now, copying the files. The next step, we need to create a repository. So to create a repository now, so where the repository files will be there, under etc directory, am.repos.d. Can check it out. These are default repositories for the CentOS are there, and these are basically going to connect it to the online. So I'm going to create like a one repository file. So example like a test.repo, you can give any name also, just I'm providing like a test.repo. Here you can type like a name, the square brackets, the repository test, and the name equal to test, and base URL equal to ftp colon double slash and your FTP server IP address. That means nothing but our server IP address 200.1/pub and enabled equal to 1 and GPG check, make it a 0. Now simply you can save this file and exit now. So use some commands, you can say clean all. The enabled equal to suppose if you type the command, you can say repo list. So you got this way, but you got something errors are there, could not find the mirror list because this reason you can say this is not connected to the internet. If it is connected to internet only, the base repositories, extras and updates, these are going to work it. But right now my server is not connected to internet. Suppose if you want to overcome these errors now, what you will do means here by default we got the CentOS repositories are there. For temporarily what I can do is for our purpose, because it's not connected to internet, I will create like mkd here old repo. I'll move this all the files which are repositories starting with the CentOS to the old repo. I'll move it. Now I can check it out. We got only the test repo is there. Now if you say repo list, only our test repo it is going to enable. So maybe still you got a problem, you can say connection to the host. So service vsftpd start. Now we can see the RAM repo list is working now. Suppose if you want to install any packages, for example, you can say install, for example, telnet-server. Now it's not connected to internet, from our test repository is going to install it now. Now say to install, says for downloading, say now to install now. The point our repository working fine now. So now what the next step we need to do? So the next step 8 you can say you need to enable the TFTP server. The step 8, you need to enable the TFTP server. So under vi/etc xinetd and tftp, and by default you can say here the line you can say disabled equal to s is there. When tftp is disabled, so you need to make it enable now. So disabled equal to s is there, and I'll change it as no. Now save and exit now. So the step 8 is ready now, and the step 9 you can say you need to configure the boot images files from the Linux DVD to var ftpt tftp boot. Here you can say given the commands. You need to copy these files. So you need to go for like a var and a lib directory. We have tftp boot is there. Under mnt means nothing but our DVD, and IS4 Linux is there. And IS4 Linux, what are the files are there? I'm going to copy into the tft boot. IS4 Linux. So there is some files are there, and this all the files you need to copy into under var lib directory library and tftp boot. So now we can say step 9 is completed, and you need to create like a some file called a default file, and you need to configure it. So where this default file is there? First of all, you need to create a directory called as a px-cfg under tft boot, and cd space var lib directory and tft boot. So we need to create a one directory called as here. The directory name is called as px linux cfg. Just will copy this one, and a tft boot I'm going to create a directory called as px linux cfg. And I'll configure this one is4 linux.cfg. Here you can see is4 linux.cfg file is there, and this file and I'm going to copy as a default directory under which place? Under px-linux.cfg.default. The next step, we need to configure this file name. So you need to go for directory called as a px-linux.cfg. So we have the file name, you can say default file is there. So now we need to configure this file. So va space default So here you can say line label, the boot menu label. Second, init.rd image file is there. So here you need to specify a line which is our server actually. This is a line, you can say line-kickstart, where actually our kickstart installation file is there. Linux case kickstart equal to ftp colon double slash the 192.168.200.1 slash pub directory, and here I'm going to create the answer file case.clc. This file I'm going to create in the next step. Now save this file wq and wq colon. So now this is what you call as a kickstart installation. Step 10 is over now, and step 11, create a case.cfg, nothing but an answer file. What is the meaning of the answer file? When you're trying to install the operating system in the manual way, you need to create the partitions, you need to type the root password and all the settings, what the packages are required. You need to type everything manual way. So this is nothing but a kickstart CFG file, nothing but answer file. So what are the packages that you want to install in the bare metal machine? We can specify in this answer file. So from where you can get this answer file now? See, right now you can just simply say cd and enter. I'm in the directory called a root directory. Say ll. There is one file called as anaconda.ks.cfg file is there. You can see this one. And this is a way. Install before install from the CD-ROM and keyboard layout, network boot. So what are the partitions are required and what the packages are required. This everything contained in this answer file. So what it means, I created an answer file also before only. So this is nothing but you can say kickstart answer file. So you need to create under var ftp pub directory case.cfg. Under this file, you can see already have created as answer file. See, now we can see this answer file contains URL. From here you can want to download this all the packages and a pub directory. ftp colon double slash 200.1 and pub directory. And firewall is disabled, SLN is disabled in the client machines. In the time zone. And next one, the partitions point of view, what the partitions are required. See, I create like a root partition with the size you can save some 5.4 GB, or if you require you can go for like a more size also. And the boot partition is like 100 MB and SAP partition like a 2 GB. And from where you can download this, enter the files, you can see the repository. And what the packages are required, these all the packages are given here. So just what I am doing is now I am going for this command vs//ftp and a pub directory I am going to create as a kickstart.cfg file. This is one by answer file. So just paste it here under var directory ftp pub case.cfg. So it is going to create like a new file, and just to go to insert mode. So already have the answer file is there, and this answer file simply I am going to copy it up to end up to end. I'll copy this one and simply I'll paste it here. Now save this file and exit. So now the step 11 is over, and step 12 you need to copy the PAC Linux.0. This file is there, and USR shared directory syslinux PAC Linux.0, and this you need to copy under var ft lib directory and tftp boot. I'll go for the command here. USR and share directory. So under share directory syslinux PAC Linux.0. Syslinux under syslinux pxc linux 0, and this file you need to copy under var directory under lib directory under tftp boot. So this is a file we specified in the DHCP server, for which file I need to start booting. So now we can say step 12 is completed. Step 13 you can say you need to start the VSFTPD, PSCPD service and XNLTD. The XNLTD for TFTP server, and as well as you need to enable the services. So what you can do now? For starting with the services now, so I am going for like a Linux system now. In the service, so one of the service name is called DSCPD, and you can say start. And you want to make this one as enable, that whenever you can restart the system, the DSCPD service has to start on. And the service VSFTPD start is already started, that's why you'll go for like a restart and check config VSFTPD on, and the service XNLT by default it will be started. You go for like a restart and check config, and by default it will be on actually, no need to start it manual way, and XNLT on. So now your PXCP boot server is ready now. The next step you need to install the client machine. What you can do means here, so the PXCP boot server ready to deploy operating system and the remote computers. So in the VMware workstation, so I'm creating a new virtual machine. Just I'm go to the file menu, new virtual machine, and go to next. I'll install the operating system later. See here I'm not selecting the any DVD or ISO files. So Linux, so CentOS is default it. The client machine for PXC. Now power on this virtual machine now. See, now it booting with the DSCP. So install or upgrade operating system. So no need to press any key, or if you want to wait for some time, maybe 1 minute time is there, or you can simply press enter also. So now downloading the installed image file from TFTP server. The only one question is asking like a, do you want to array the data in the hard disk? Say yes. So the rest of the part, everything is taking in the automatic way, creating the partitions and formatting the partitions and installing the required packages. See, now retrieve from the test repository. And this process taking a lot of time. So I'll do one thing just to save this one. I'll pause the video for temporarily. See, now it is going to installing all the packages, whatever I create in the case.cfg file. What are the packages are available? See, these all the packages are going to install now. These are packages from this repository. So I'll pause the video for this now. Now you can see almost the complete installation packages. So almost you can see all the packages are completed now. The next step, only one thing is asking about like a reboot. So it's taking some time. And the packages installation is completed now. The next step is asking about like a simply like a reboot the system only. We are going to perform the post installation configuration and install the bootloaders. So the finally asking the only one thing, you can say just the reboot. See, this is the way of installing Kickstart, or you can say PXE boot. You go for like, if you want to log in as root user account, you can log in as root user account, and the password, if you require, you can enter the password. And this is the way of installation of the Kickstart, or you can say PXE boot. See, I log in as a root user account and I got this one. And this is the way we can say we can able to install the, on the remote computers we can install Linux operating system using the Kickstart, or we can also call a PXE boot.